Yo, welcome to another Untimely review. This one coming courtesy of the homie and blackface. Anyway, let's get right into the story. Some major spoilers for the first movie after Iron Man that Robert Downey Jr. starred in. This one doesn't count. Wow, what an introduction. Honestly, I don't know if I could even put this on YouTube, but there's been worse. Just in case though, let's move on. Oh, wait, before I do, I didn't know that Al Pacino had a candy bar named Bust-A-Nut, and I gotta say, if this movie was just about Al Pacino, it'd be a 10 out of 10. But the next commercial/trailer thing we see, it's a post-apocalyptic movie set in the far-off futuristic year of 2013, where Tug Speedman saves the world for a sixth time. The next trailer is a Big Mama's House ripoff, but with Caucasians. And I would prefer not to speak further about it. The next trailer is about a movie where Iron Man and Spider-Man have a sexual relationship while being undercover as priests in the dark times, which is any time before 1990 for me. Then the DreamWorks logo pops up, and I had to pause the movie to see if this was a joke or not, but nope, DreamWorks had a hand in this, and I am unsure about how I feel about that. When the movie actually starts, we get some narration about 1969, some Vietnam War shit, America Lost by the way, don't see too many people talking about that, and the premise of the movie. There's some aerial shots with helichoppers, some nice explosions, more military violence, and oh man, there he is! But there's no time for that. It's a battlefield, son! Dude's getting disemboweled, the mission is fucked, but before these guys who came on a rescue mission decide to say, fuck the rescue, we see this guy get shot so many times I lost count. Robert Downey Jr. in blackface saves him somehow, but can't get to the helo, so they have a little heart-to-heart while carnage and despair happen all around them.
And then
Tug Speedman asked the director to cut, which would obviously mess up the shot, but the director is like, nah man, we still have mad explosions prepped and a bunch of stuff that isn't interesting or funny happens. Until this scene.
I'm going potty. You wanna hold my dick?
And then the planes fly overhead and we got detonation. News of the $4 million failure makes the rounds and we get some more info on all the different actors on set. Jeff Portnoy got arrested for heroin, glue, and crack possession. Al Pacino, rapper and booty-themed drink entrepreneur. Kirk Lazarus, a crazy Australian man who had surgery with soy sauce to play a black dude in this movie. Tug Speedman, action star who no one takes seriously. And we get the introduction of Simple Jack. And the movie already called it one of the worst movies of all time, so that's all I'll say on that for now. Tug gets a call from his agent, Rick Peck, who calls himself the Pecker, which is the only reason his character was named the way he is, but he does own a Wii in his office, so he's a cool agent. Rick brings up TiVo, which is nuts to think about because that shit is dumb dated by now, but he was a cool little guy. Then this other cool little guy with a knife almost gets adopted by Tug, but it's probably for the best that he didn't since he's been nothing but a piece of shit this whole time. Hey look, it's Tom Cruise as Les Grossman, not to be mistaken with my favorite Bears quarterback, Rex Grossman. Les tells the key grip, who firmly grasps things on set, I don't know, I'm not a fucking film student, to punch the director in the face, which has got to be a violation of some laws, but whatever, I guess. Then we see Nick Nolte playing as the guy who this movie is made after, named Four Leaf Tayback, which has got to be the fakest name ever, tells everyone that he knows how to whip the actors into shape. Then there's a party. Kirk is just in character at all times, and the director is trying to round up all the actors, but Kevin is the only one actually being helpful, and then Tug is giving a speech for no reason, and the director ends up talking to Four Leaf. Four Leaf is speaking in quadratic formulas, but tells him to take guerrilla filmmaking to the next level and just blow some stuff up around his actors and film their genuine reactions. So now the real movie starts. They're in a remote location, no assistants, no weed, no TiVo. The director puts his foot down and starts being assertive to the actors, giving a stirring speech about what it means to be an actor, what it means to be a soldier. Then he likens himself to Jesus Christ, and then he puts his foot down again and fucking dies. Remember kids, even if you don't believe in God, should you really tempt him? We then see that mine was just a leftover from Vietnam's victory, but that this area is still being watched by some dudes, and because the actors are being loud as fuck, those dudes are about to go press them hard. Tug does some shit that I guarantee I can't show, but his blatant lack of respect for the dead makes those dudes think that they're fucking crazy and have no fear of death. Giving us some time to process watching a man blow up, we switch over to Four Leaf and this guy, Cody. And Four Leaf is making a strong case for being the best character from this scene interaction.
Pretty cool sidearm you got there. What is it?
I don't know what it's called. I just know the sound it makes when it takes a man's life.
What? Imagine a dude telling you this. Just go in your mind and imagine asking, oh, what type of gun is that? And him not even looking at you and saying that. These are the types of characters I love, and it explains so much about me that I will not get into. I didn't bring this up before, but Jeff in the movie has an Al Capone accent for some reason. I like it. The guys still think it's a movie, so they follow along with the script, and it is not well written. There's some booty sweat product placement, and Kirk says that the director is actually 100% straight up deceased, and that there isn't a movie anymore, to which Tug asked, then why is he still in character? Interesting questions. Kirk says that he doesn't have to tell him, but before they can really get into it, they are getting shot at, and Tug still thinks it's fake, so he's going Rambo, and everyone but Kirk gets in on it. Some great happenstance for them occurs that makes it seem like it's still fake, so they carry on with the script. They walk for a little bit, and then we get the full scene that people usually know from this movie, and I think I get the point Kirk and by extension the movie is trying to make, but it is very complex, and I will save it for the end of this video. Cody and Four Leaf get captured, and we see that Four Leaf has been faking this whole time. The guys take a break, Jeff gets his jelly beans stolen from him, Kirk talks to Kevin while Kevin is peeing, and now with Four Leaf being a fucking fraud, Kirk is my favorite character from this quote.
That's built just like baloney for some reason.
This movie has by far the most quotables of any movie I think I've ever seen, and honestly, as stupid and insensitive as this movie is, it's pretty great at points. Then Tug pulls the same trick as Kirk and talks to Kevin, and I know Kevin has got to feel terrible this entire time. Jeff then eats a bat because he's cocaine deprived, and we all know
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
And then we get the what do you mean you people scene, and then there's like 3 more quotables until Tug goes off on his own while the other guys go to the drop-off point. We get a montage of both journeys until we see that those dudes from earlier are tracking them. Al Pacino presses Kirk because he's talking like a stereotype and has been for the past hour, so good on Chino. We see that Tug has bunkered down for the night with some Star Trek on his iPod until he hears a noise in the bush. Oh no, what could it be? A tiger? A wolverine mayhaps? No, far worse, a panda bear. And killing the bear pains Tug greatly. Picking up with Cody and Four Leaf explains that he did serve in the military, it was a Coast Guard, and it was part of the sanitation unit, and that he wrote Tropic Thunder as a tribute. Yeah, sure, alright dude. Tug is wearing the fur of the panda he killed, so he's really off the deep end now, and when he gets a call from Rick, who's still playing Wii by the way, he tells him that he killed the panda and while talking nonsense gets captured. Picking back up with the guys, there is a lot going on racially, but then Jeff decides to attack what I assume is a water buffalo and is luckily talked out of it. We see Tug being taken to those guys' camp, and because he sees a camera, he still thinks that it's a movie. And when we cut back to the other guys, nothing important happens. Tug is being interrogated, and the dude interrogating him is actually a very nice man who offers him tea, but because Tug is still acting, he's being a dickhead. Picking back up again with the boys, they stumble onto the camp that Cody, Four Leaf, and Tug are being kept at. When Kevin mentions that it's a heroin processing plant because he's a nerd and knows everything, Jeff is hyped to go, and then Kevin says that they might not even be in Vietnam anymore and could be in Laos or Myanmar. They see Tug being tortured, and we see him get taken to Tran, the child leader of the group, and oh, he's so cute with his nicotine addiction. Tug says something in the way that Simple Jack would, and they automatically recognize him from that, and they love that movie, since it's literally the only movie that they have, but never want to let a good deal slip away. They decide to hold Tug for ransom. But before we see that plan, Peck bursts into Grossman's office to talk, and he gets a call from Flaming Dragon. Hard name, about the ransom, but Peck thinks that they're another talent agency, but Grossman takes the phone away, curses them out in a beautiful flurry of fucks, and hangs up on them. That night, Flaming Dragon makes Tug put on a Simple Jack performance, and it is uncomfortable. While that's going on, the guys are trying to come up with a plan on how to save him, and on the Grossman side, they catch up to what the audience already knows when they get another call from Flaming Dragon. They up the ransom to 100 million, which is a crazy amount in '08 for one dude, but then Grossman acts like the fucking president and says that he doesn't negotiate with terrorists. Bro, this ain't the fucking Pentagon, you run a movie studio, who do you think you are? Anyway, the movie takes a dramatic shift from the usual stupid guy's vibe to this House of Cards malevolent, tight-lipped, and fisted leader one, and it is very jarring. And then Grossman plays Low by Flo Rida, and everything is right with the world again. Until we see Simple Jack again. But we get Chino pressing Kirk again for altering his skin tone to play a role and still being in character when the movie obviously isn't happening. Jeff tries to make the best decision in the movie so far and starts taking some accountability for his drug addiction by telling Kevin to tie him to a tree. Ah, growth. You'll love to see it. Then nothing important happens until Chino gets vulnerable about liking another man, but everyone has to make a big deal about it, and this fucking movie could have had a prominent black and gay character with no beef, but they fucked it up. The next day, we get our plan in motion, and I can't tell if this part is racist because I don't know what language they're actually speaking, but Kirk decides to speak Mandarin because that's what he says they're speaking. I don't know if I want to take the guy in blackface's opinion, but what can I do at this point? I mean, when he's talking to Tran in his broken Mandarin, he seems to be understanding, so I guess the man in blackface is right. While that's going on, Chino and Kevin try to find Tug, and Chino ends up finding Four Leaf and Cody, and because Kirk is bad at improvising, he's gotta pull out the ARs and start blasting, and manages to miss everyone in front of him. Kirk finds Tug, who is now happy that he's performing that dumbass movie 5 times a day. They finally bring up the fact that Al Pacino is named after Al Pacino. Four Leaf actually contributes for once, and we finally get the classic scene.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Kirk is going through all his recent roles and unraveling, while heavily armed heroin dealers are right outside, but they all manage to get out, but not before Tran walks out with this rocket launcher and blows their truck up. Tug tries to stay because he thinks that he has a connection with Flaming Dragon. I guess he didn't hear about the ransom. And right when they just leave him, he runs back after being stabbed by his adoptive son and being shot at by everyone else. There's an emotional scene, and this fucking guy Peck went out into the Asian jungle to find them and brought Tug his fucking TiVo, but when Tran shoots a rocket at the helicopter, he throws the TiVo and saves the day. We pick up at the Oscars and Tug Speedman beats out racist John Voight, and the movie ends with Les Grossman dancing to Get Back by Ludacris, and it is incredibly white. Alright, so now that the story's out of the way, what did I think? Okay, so there's a couple of reasons why I really wanted to review this. The first is because the homie asked for it, but come on, I do what I want. So the real reason is because some people, both in this movie and just in general, talk about this movie like it's so edgy, and there's no way that it could be made today. Like, dude, this movie came out 12 years ago. This shit isn't from a different generation. Like, what are you talking about? But before getting into that point, let's talk about all the regular stuff like the acting. So aside from Jay Baruchel, I hope I pronounced that right, I at least knew everyone else, so let's talk about him first. For being a lanky, nerdy, and soft stereotype of a character, he was pretty fun to watch, and he was by far the most normal of the bunch, so at least he was grounded. Jack Black is always going to be a fun guy to watch, and seeing him just going through withdrawals the whole movie was okay, I guess. He doesn't really do anything, but I like him, so that's okay. Ben Stiller actually plays his role really well. I only know him from the Zoolander commercials, and I thought that was incredibly dumb, so I never checked it out, but he was also Alex in Madagascar, and that's something, right? In this movie, he goes between being funny and genuinely sad, and I think he did a pretty good job of that. Then there's Mr. Brandon T. Jackson, who doesn't really do anything, but he's there, and he presses against racism, so that's cool. Tom Cruise is fucking unrecognizable, not just because of the prosthetics and makeup, but because I think this is the only movie, at least that I've seen, where he curses at all. And I know for a fact there's no movie where he curses like this. The shit isn't even really that necessary, which is crazy coming from me, I know. But like, we're just getting crazy terms with fuck at the end, and it is just wild to me. And nobody else matters except for the best actor in the movie, Robert, I have a black face under this mask, Downey Jr. Now, blackface in general is bad, and I personally do not trust anyone to try to do this again. But RDJ being in blackface is not the same as like in a minstrel show. Him being in blackface actually matters to the story and his character and shows that 1, he's a crazy guy, and 2, that this would even be allowed in a movie because this whole movie is a parody of Hollywood tropes. I look at this movie as parody for the most part, but there are some aspects that I think are just toxic for toxic's sake, like the Simple Jack stuff. Even though I do think that the movie was trying to say that the Academy and just audiences in general love movies that have an underdog character that's not neurotypical in some way, but because Simple Jack went so far to the point that they couldn't actually root for the character, that's more on them than the movie itself. I think that could have been a really good point about how the media represents people with disabilities in general and how that could affect things, but nope. Simple Jack is just a guy that talks funny and doesn't have a firm grasp on reality. It's lame and not very nice. But back to Kirk. Not only is he the funniest character, he's also the most interesting because he reveals something about actors, especially hardcore method actors, that I don't really see get talked about a lot. He's unsure of himself and insecure of his real self, so he delves so hard into these characters where he can truly be someone else because he doesn't want to be himself. He's so afraid of that, he keeps going further and further with roles until he starts thinking he can play a black man, because what's more far removed from an Australian actor than a black American Vietnam War soldier? Kirk is a tragic character until he finally breaks and becomes comfortable with himself. And it happens super quickly and seems to happen just because the movie's ending, but hey, they tried. I mean, that's something, right? Oh, I also thought that I should mention that the director's name is Cockburn. I didn't mention it earlier because, come on, the jokes are too easy at that point. But just from the names of these characters, you can see what type of movie this is. I do still think that this movie is definitely worth checking out. It's funny, but it also definitely earns its R rating, and I would not recommend watching this with anyone really under the ages of 15 because it could affect them very negatively. Tropic Thunder is a toxic mess, but I don't think it's as some people would say it couldn't be made today. Is this movie outwardly offensive? Sure. But considering how much of it comes from parodying Hollywood in general, I don't think it's something that people couldn't understand. This movie is mean and super disrespectful, and that's kind of the point, at least for some aspects of it. Some aspects do go overboard for really no reason, and it seems like those are just for shock value. For a comedy, and especially a comedy that isn't taking itself seriously at all, I think it's fine. And I did enjoy watching this movie. But who the fuck am I but a random dude playing another dude on the internet playing a well-adjusted reviewer with vulgar tendencies? But what did you think? Was this review a minefield to get through, or was the review more thunder than blunder? Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.